Welcome to Technology Rocks.
And go, hey, this is Justin with Technology Rocks, Season 2, Episode 2, Artificial Intelligence. Whether it's good, bad, friend, or foe, Mr. Grain, what is your synopsis of all of those things?
I think we have a double-edged sword. It is friend and it is foe. It depends what you are using it for and what other people are using it for.
Agreed. No, I feel this is exact same way. We've had a lot of famous people come out, not to this show. They have no clue who we are, but a lot of famous people that have made quotes in relation to artificial intelligence. We have things like Elon Musk, where he's kind of given a doom and gloom synopsis, and Jeff Bezos of how it's going to increase productivity and e-commerce and blah 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 blah. Which, why wouldn't the owner of Amazon say anything about e-commerce and how great that is? And then we have things like RFK. We have things like people like, not things, I mean, they're all living people. Bernie Sanders was another one. There's Mark Zuckerberg was another one. Bernie Sanders was actually one that you had sent me a video of, and I'm not a fan. So here's our synopsis. It's really hard to get into this subject and stay out of politics. It really is, because I mean, the government wants to get involved. They want to get involved with everything, and so it kind of skates into the scary new world order territory very quickly if you're not careful. And I did watch that video. Normally I repel videos from Bernie Sanders and several of the other folks just because to me but I watched it. I watched it on purpose, and I found the video enlightening.
It gives you a balanced view.
Right. Yeah. No. And I found it enlightening, and I was like, man, this is actually really good stuff. I think where he's going to lose his general audience, Ian, it would be the same thing if Donald Trump came out and did the same type of video. The majority of the people that hate that person wouldn't watch it. But, I specifically watched it because I knew you and I were crossing the topic. But then you get in this very sticky category of government regulation, and it needs to be regulated by the government. And then he is an entity that has had a full career of trying to over-regulate things that don't need to be regulated, and I think that's where it becomes quicksand from who it's coming from, which is why what we're doing is somewhat important for the 10 people that listen to it. So no, but I did enjoy the video. I watched the video. It was a 15-minute watch, and it was very informative. And again, I am not a political person. I don't enjoy.
I didn't watch it from a political perspective. Yeah. I wanted to get the arguments from both sides, and I think he gave a good argument as to regulation, why it's needed, and what's going to happen if it isn't regulated, which it's probably never going to be because it's out there in the wild in so many different nation states. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that China and North Korea and Russia are going to regulate AI the same way that we do.
So Ian and I took this approach, and he and I have discussed this off the record. And I went, over the past few days, I had this deep level research memory dump, is what I would call it, on a notepad, and I sent it to Ian, and I thought it was like 2 or 3 pages long, but it really wasn't. But it did shed the light on a contrast of, the good and the bad. It's the thing about artificial intelligence that's completely misunderstood. And the way I approach this is I went to the terms and conditions and what people are actually agreeing to when they're using these things. That's what I found fascinating to me. And the other thing that I found fascinating was the authors, so to speak, or creators, so to speak.
I think they call them architects.
Yes, have remained to be hidden. And they've now listed in their terms and agreements the end user as the author. Yes, so you are now the author when you are entering data into this machine, whether it be musical, artistry-wise, information-wise, doing research, creating CRM software, whatever you're doing with artificial intelligence. There's a lot of handy things that are out there that this thing can really be a help meet with. But as Ian and I were jumping into this topic, the last thing we wanted to do was, it's like, look, you can see scary videos of this on YouTube all you want. I don't want to make this type of thing to scare people. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm trying to, if it's scary, then yes, we need to scare people. But if it's not scary and it's being misconstrued, then we need to shed the light on where it's being twisted and topsy-turvy here, because I think a lot of these entities, such as someone like Bernie Sanders, where that message could be misconstrued as doom and gloom, Terminator's coming, the world's coming to an end, if it's not regulated, da-da-da-da-da-da. And we know midterms are coming up, so it's just, there's a lot of that stuff going on right now. AI is just a very misunderstood creature and a hot topic at the moment. You know, what do you think?
I think it's like any any technology over the years. I mean, when they first invented, you know, petrol-driven engines and put them into vehicles, and they were horseless carriages, but they slowed them down. They made somebody walk in front with a red flag because they thought that if they went too fast, peoples were going to suffocate because they couldn't breathe, because the air would be, I don't know. There were so many things people are frightened of when there's new technology, but it doesn't seem to be that people are frightened of it right now, apart from one side or the other of the, maybe the political spectrum. But from a personal perspective, I think that it's a good thing, but if it's what you want to use for music or art or whatever, but I don't think it's a good thing when it comes to what other people are using it for in order to rob us blind.
There's no limitation. That's the problem. It has no limits. So we have to be very careful about how we mention some of the names of these things with some of the events that we're going to talk about for a minute, because we don't want to get dragged into a liability thing or cease and desist, or you pooped on my, you know, bowl of Fruit Loops or whatever. But we're going to be realistic for a minute. Okay, so in November 18th, the new version of a certain thing that everyone uses and a lot of people have on their phones, not saying any names, but it rhymes with hat GPT, came out with a new variation of their software. And there was a lot of speculation about this variation of their software, but what it was doing is it took away the ability to research medical data, research into how to inflict harm on someone or to yourself, and legal information. And that was when the version 5.2 was released. And it wasn't released for good intentions. It was released because something happened. Things have happened that have hurt people. Things have happened that hurt children. Things have happened that have hurt elderly people. Things have happened that have hurt people in legal ways. And again, people came out of the woodworks to seek liability and responsibility. Who's responsible for this thing? There was a young lady up north that the last thing found on her phone was how to harm herself. And unfortunately so, she did so in that way and didn't come back from that. Your social media has hurt people. Your Instagram has hurt people. Your instant messenger has hurt people. There are authors in place that we know who these people are that have set up rules and regulations for these things. Not by the government, mind you, but by the company that itself from a liability standpoint. So I had a lot of time on my hands. Actually, I didn't. I just did it anyway. But to research some of the terms and agreements of some of these popular artificial intelligence softwares. And I found it interesting that I found a common denominator between several of them. And maybe, who knows, maybe they're all using the same thing, and maybe that's why they call it architects or authors. But one of the main common denominators about this software is they all hide the creators. It's how the software was designed, meaning they claim the end user is the creator, which I find that fascinating. So if you go look at, if you twist and turn that for a minute, it would be the same thing as saying a Glock firearm isn't responsible for killing someone, it's just a firearm. However, that firearm in the hands of a child or in the hands of a maniac is the one that's responsible for hurting someone, right? We can both agree on that. If you look at the AI standpoint of it, they take that particular approach. It's AI isn't responsible for hurting someone. It's little Susie Q that asked the artificial intelligence software, hey, how do I harm myself? You know, and so that's the slippery slope of what we're getting into here.
There's something that came up that's just gone into effect. It's Australia have done a social media ban for anybody under the age of 16. So it applies to TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't apply to Le Chat GPT or any other thing.
Is that even legal in Australia yet? I mean, do they have it over there? I don't know. I'm asking.
I assume that everybody in the world has access to
That.
those products.
So here, but what I find fascinating about
I mean, Apple is kind of integrating it with Siri.
Yep, 100%.
So if people in Australia have got iPhones, they've got ChatGPT
They've got
built
Siri
into their phone.
Yep, they've got Siri. Facebook has what they call Meta AI. Google has their Google AI or Google Assistant.
Okay, so if they're banning all these kids under the age of 16 from using social media, which means that they're doing it to protect children against cyberbullying and all the other things.
But it's a thing. I mean, children have hurt themselves because of those things. But their standpoint on that is, hey, we didn't put the gun in the kid's hand. The parent did, right? And in a way, devil's advocate, you can see that. You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't leave the Glock didn't leave your firearm laying around your house where your child could get to it. And this is nothing against Glock. It's just the first gun name I thought of. You did. The parent did. Right? And so but here's the thing. If what you were doing is on the up and up and is on the up and up, why wouldn't you want to take credit for being People of the Year from Time Magazine? What's the reasoning behind it?
Don't know.
I do. They don't want to accept liability for it. Here's the thing. If Ford Motor Company, for instance, so Ford Motor Company, I love Ford Motor Company. Ian drives a Mustang. I've owned probably 20. If Ford Motor Company released a vehicle, right, in order to operate that vehicle, you have to have checks and balances in place before it's legal for you as an individual to be allowed to operate a vehial. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Well, yeah, absolutely right. You have to have liability insurance. Do you agree?
To some extent. I would go down another rabbit hole here, but...
Go. What do you got?
There seems
Or do you want to hear the thought process I'm going down?
No, I'll just give you my...
Okay.
my
Let's hear it.
the reason for that kind of throwback to you. It's basically the extent to which kids are now riding e-bikes or electric
Oh, I
bikes
agree.
and electric scooters.
Incredibly dangerous. Yeah.
They are riding on the road. It is
20 miles an hour.
or more.
Yeah.
A kid on an e-bike overtook me and I was doing 30 miles an hour and I didn't see him. It was dark. He had no
And the
light.
wheels are itty bitty.
Well, one of them, the bike was almost a full-size trail bike.
So it's not like a scooter, one of the
It
scooters.
was electric.
Yeah.
But they're kids. They don't have liability insurance. They don't have...
But if he hits your car,
They don't have a license. They don't have any registration, but they're using the roads and they're going faster than I am and overtaking me. And
they're quiet, you don't hear them.
I actually followed these three boys that were on these bikes and the one that overtook me, and I gave them I wound the window down when they stopped and I said, look, one of you three is going to be killed by the end of today if you carry on riding like that. And
Right.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. We'll be
At
careful.
least they were polite about it.
Oh yeah. Well, they probably didn't like the look of the red-faced British guy screaming at them out the window of his car. But
Right. Right. Well, so here's where I'll go with that. And that's a great point. We'll get back to that in a second. So let's go back to FOMOCO, so Ford Motor Company. So they design vehicles. They have to get those vehicles certified before it's put on a lot to where it's deemed safe for human consumership.
yeah, safety.
And exactly. Safety regulations, whole 9 yards. If your Mustang today had a safety recall where the brakes were to fail and it's already hurt people, you get a letter in the mail. In fact, nowadays you'd probably get a text message and more than that, phone calls, robocalls, all these things that, hey, you have, in fact, I think yours did, what was the valves or the heads or something had to do, it doesn't matter. You get a safety notification. Please bring this vehicle to the dealership. It is not deemed safe. We need to fix it before it harms you. You can heed that warning, and most do. They go get it fixed. Whole 9 yards. Or you can ignore the warning. But if Ford Motor Company decided to not issue a warning when they knew they had a problem, then they have to accept liability for that problem. Yes?
Yeah, they still. There is a recall on my car, which I have ignored. Because
Well, it's like the drive shaft on the Ford Transit that flew off.
no,
you know?
this is it's in regard to the rear view camera.
Oh, okay.
And what it says is that under certain circumstances, the rear view camera can go black or pixelate or blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then they sent me a letter when it first came out and said I would need to take it in to get it fixed, but the parts aren't available. And more recently, I mean, that was maybe a couple of years ago, but I forget when they first said about it, but it's still an active recall. In fact, I got a letter last month which said, active recall on your Mustang VIN number, blah, 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 regarding the rear view camera, which needs to be replaced, but we haven't got any in stock, but we'll let you know when we do. So they still can't fix it because they still haven't got any in stock, and that's over several years, and I've ignored it anyway because mine has never had a problem. And if I felt the need, I would probably replace it myself and put something better in, but
So, Ian, would you let a 12-year-old drive your Mustang GT?
no,
Why?
because they're not insured, licensed, or registered.
Okay.
And it depends. I mean, if you took it to an big airfield and say, here, kid, see what you can do with this, and you don't care about them putting it into a wall or something,
But if you, keep that analogy. If that was the case and you did, it would be your responsibility and liability because why? You handed them the keys, correct?
yes, you said, if you give them permission to drive it, then it's your responsibility.
Why are those entities any different then? Why is ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all of these other guys that are out there, why are they any different? And why do the owners remain hidden? Why do the architects remain hidden? Because why aren't they accepting liability? Why aren't they accepting responsibility for the things that have already happened? Why is it that we have to wait for an airplane to hit a building before we do something about safety and security about this thing?
Yeah, because there aren't any rules, laws, regulations in place that say they have to be liable.
Exactly.
But you talk about aeroplanes hitting the building. I mean, there's instances of other things where regulation could be brought in because of the aeroplane hitting the building.
Right.
They're called mass shootings.
Right.
But there's plenty of those aeroplanes hitting buildings virtually every day, but nobody regulates anything.
Nobody regulates anything. So that's the thing is, but those people aren't hidden though. They can be addressed, they can be talked to, they can be subpoenaed, they can be brought in, they can be... The authors of these things that are helping you make your life better are harming people. But they're not harming, but they're treating it as if, well, you put the phone in the kid's hand, you left the gun on the coffee table, The kid did it to himself because he self-injured. But yes, but you were the tool that he used. You know, their parents, you know, came after Columbine. Parents came after the you know, the gun. They even went so far as to go after the gun manufacturers that made the firearms, and it was the forgive me, the NRA is who protected them. You know, because it was, you know, it's not their responsibility; it's the parents' responsibility, and I do give them that. You know, that's it. They're totally right. Yep, the parents should have been paying attention to those things, and we've kind of veered off course for a minute, but we're going to get back to it really fast.
Not really, because that's where we should be. Parents are the ones who should be guardrails to what their children are doing and consuming.
100%.
So, yeah, these things are out there, but who knows how parents look at these things? It's probably they get enjoyment out of using it, so say to the kids, why don't you use this to do your homework? Because it will make life easier for you.
Right.
And then the kids today who basically live on their phones in social media land and chat GPT land, and they don't interact with other human beings other than through a screen. So they're becoming insular, and they're becoming influenced by those things that they see online, and they get the wrong inputs.
Correct.
They're searching for the dopamine hits, but then something comes back that they don't like, so they instantly dive bomb, and then they get suicidal, and it's happening a lot.
It's happened a lot. It happened it happened more than one time, to where the architects that are helping you. And by the way, if any one of the architects wants to come out and come on the show, I'll happily talk to them because I have questions. The bottom line of all of this stuff is that if Ford Motor Company designed a car and the brakes failed on the car, Ford Motor Company, that means, you and I would agree, that means that piece of equipment had a malfunction and that caused catastrophic failure. Yes? If the brakes fail, right? Okay, so we agree on that. All right, so moving forward, if Ford Motor Company designs a car and the brakes fail in the car, Ford Motor Company is responsible for that. In my opinion, the fact that you can look up how to commit suicide, and I'm pissed about this because I have two children that are younger and have access to all this technology and things like that, and I'm very angry about some of these things. But in my opinion, they have created a vehicle with no brakes, no limitation, no brakes, and they've released it amongst the public.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Or a Tesla with autopilot that doesn't work.
Slammed into a curb and flipped, in a median just down the road from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly, with autonomous driving. So here's the thing. So let's get into some of the, so that's the political part. And we'll try to stay out of the political things, out of all these things. But again, here's what I found fascinating about the terms and agreements. Okay, so let's carry on back into that real quick. So the terms and agreement is the end user that is inputting data in these variations of AI technology that's out there is now considered as the author. Okay, you're the creator because you're the one telling the computer what to do. So kind of like a devil made me do it, so to speak. You know what I mean? Oh, no, we just, here it is, but, we didn't tell you to ask that. You just asked it, and so that's kind of the stress. So that's the terms of agreement to in every one of these. It'll either be in the top 10 or halfway down, or it's buried and hidden. So the second one that I found interesting, and here's the really fun part, and it's most of these entities, to be able to use them to the nth degree, meaning using voice interaction in the background when you're not actually using it, so it can learn during the day. Oh yes, there's a lot of fun things in the terms and agreements that you agree to when you start paying for these things. The third thing is, would you agree that if someone needs to pay for something like that, is that not a business? If somebody's making money off of it, is that not
It's a service.
Is that not commerce?
Yes, and
Okay.
there's a lot of services out there now that say even Windows is now a service, rather
Right,
than
but
a
if you
product.
but Windows, you can go look up the owner. That's Bill Gates. You know, that's the guy that runs Microsoft. But if you started a business today, if you started a corporation today, anyone can go research who owns that corporation. Why are these entities any different? Why do they get to perform in a way that keeps them incognito and hidden?
Don't know.
See, and that's where we're at. So that's in the terms and conditions. So here's another fun one that's in terms and conditions about. So Ian, the who do you think owns the intellectual property of a piece of art or song that's made by one of those entities?
Well, I know the answer because you've already told me.
Okay, we'll share the answer with the audience.
The copyright, if that's what you want to call it, the ownership is the property of the entity that. Hang on, was that me?
Probably.
I'm banging things around here. Okay, so if you go to Suno and create a song, who owns the song? Suno does. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking if you make a piece of art, you
Piece
know,
of
you-
art, a picture.
I want a darn picture of Mario beating the crap out of Batman.
Right, but that's just a thought in your head. That isn't giving anything creative other than what do they call it, a prompt, which says this is what I want to see. So the thing that produces that picture has produced a picture of what you want to see, but you don't own it. Whoever created it owned it, and whatever created it owned it.
But how do you own it if they don't know who you are, if you don't know who they are? Who owns it?
The company.
The intellectual right. So here's how that rule works.
But what happens, like, when, I think, referring to putting lyrics into a system like Suno and then saying, put this to music, do I still own the lyrics?
So that's an interesting thought. So there's a rule and agreement for that, Ian. So if the end user inputs more than 70+% of the song, so just putting lyrics in would be like 50% because you got.
I'd say it's 100%. That's the song.
Well, that's the song, but that's not the music. But
Right.
you've asked that thing to put music to your lyrics. So therefore, it would be more of a 50-50 relationship because if I have song lyrics without music, then it's a poem.
But if you've published a book of poems and you've claimed copyright
Yep.
on that book of poetry, that copyright to those words in those poems, which are lyrics, are your copyright.
But that's a poem, yes.
But then if you put that poem into
Yep.
something and say, put this to music, it's still the words are still your copyright.
That's true,
And it's
in a
that's-
way,
But,
until you agreed to the terms and conditions.
but by putting the lyrics to music, you're producing a different type of content.
Right.
So that piece of content, even though it's your words, lyrics that you wrote, 100% have copyright to. Do you still have copyright to those words? If somebody wanted to then cover that AI-produced song, do they have to get permission from the AI people, or do they get it from you, or from both?
So here's the funny part about the anonymous people that run those types of things. And this is what I found interesting. So they don't want to be named, they don't want to be known. But if, say, your song that you put out there using the AI voice, because it wasn't you singing it.
Correct.
Okay. And it wasn't you playing the guitar
I can't do either of those.
or the
things.
drums
Or that.
or the bass
Or that.
or the music composition.
Correct.
It's 6 different things that you didn't do. on that song. All you did was supply the brain, the core infrastructure of the song, but you had no input on composition or did you? Or no, you just put style, right?
Yeah, I don't know, genre, style, whatever you want to do. Like,
Okay. So you said I want you to write this song in. Did you put a music key in?
nope.
Nope. So you just said write this song in the style of Led Zeppelin or Tom Petty or.
I think it was even more vague than that, like heavy metal rock or a ballad. You know, very, very simple stuff.
Okay. So you put the lyrics in. Here's the funny part about the rules of engagement here, or the thing that you agreed to when you did this, is that who negates what percentage is what, who makes the rules on it. Don't look it up because there is no gauge for that. So that means the rules could be ever changing, or they can make the rules up as they go, which seems to be the pattern of artificial intelligent authors or architects. They make the rules as they go. They basically put the plane in the air with no runway here. And the answer to your question is if you were to ask me as a musician, and you had come to me and said, hey, I've got these lyrics, can you compose a song for me and put it to music and add a beat to it and do all these other things, well, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make it into a song, and then you got to extract the chorus to make the chorus and then make it all work and maybe change some verbiage around here and there to make it into an actual song. So I would say it's about 50-50. I would say I could write this music and then...
In that instance, I would
Right.
agree that is like singer-songwriter, music, lyrics. If it's two different people, then yeah, I think that's a partnership. But when you go to a piece of software and you give it the lyrics and say, give me this, put this to music in this style, and within 30 seconds, it gives you 4 versions.
Right.
And you can listen to them and say, I like this one best, so that's what I want to keep. But the other 3 are still... If I go back on there, I haven't been back on there since, but I'm sure if I go back, all 4 versions are still going to be there.
Sure.
But if I wanted to do that, to give you an idea, to say, this is my song, this is kind of how I want it to sound, and then let you do it. Some of the work's already been done. Can they still claim that they've done the work?
As long as it's over 70%. Sure. But I think where the misconception lies is, and I think you referred to him in the more eloquent terminology on the last episode, the mouth-breathing generation, the bottom-feeding generation. I think it was bottom-feeding generation that are inputting a lot of these things that are
Darwin Award winners.
right, that are drawing the Batman versus the Mario Brother things and saying, "Look at what I've done." Or do you? And I went down the rabbit hole on that, and there's a lot of holes to go down. Was 96% or over or more of the people that put in data into artificial intelligence proclaim that they are the artists or they made the artwork that have coming out of these entities. And that's okay. You can do that. But here's the slippery slope. If you were to release that song and say Taylor Swift comes out of the blue, or Ed Sheeran comes out, somebody huge, larger than life, comes out of the blue and says, I love this song, I want to buy it, there's 2 things that could happen in that instance. One, they buy it, you make a lot of money, they make a lot of money, they're on the top Billboard 100. At any point in time, the entity that you made that song within, because you didn't contribute more than 70%, could come and collect royalty rights from you. It's 100% legal because you agreed to it.
Yeah, I don't know how you prove the 70% thing.
I don't either, because the rules keep changing.
But you mentioned Ed Sheeran. I mean, he went to court not that long ago.
He got sued by Marvin Gaye's family.
Right.
Yep.
And he had to go and demonstrate that he was the...
$35 million later.
Yeah.
And I think 2 years is that it took. And Marvin Gaye's family, in fact, they'll probably sue us for just mentioning the name of their family. But yeah, no, they had come after a plethora of artists, not just Ed Sheeran. There was several, but Ed Sheeran was the big offender at that point in time because he had I just forgot the name of the song. It was his biggest hit that he ever had, but it was on the X album, but it sounded like Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. And it was the same beat, same progression, same note It was allegedly the same beat and same progression and same, cadence and everything else as Let's Get It On. And he ended up winning. He ended up winning the lawsuit. It was touch and go. They didn't think he was going to.
He even took his guitar to the court and showed how he developed things.
Well, he could even, he showed that you could play 5 different songs within the same chord progression. There's only so many darn notes that you can put in a song that before they all start kind of running together and sounding the same. So, but to your point, so that's the first thing that could happen. So the second thing that could happen is that her team or his team could do research on this song and say, oh, well, no one owns it at all. And they could just straight up steal that song, produce it, make a hit out of it, and you don't get anything. So the answer is you don't own anything. But what I found fascinating is that the anonymous, the architects, the people that want to help you come out.
And be creative.
Right. But they will come out to seek dividends and royalties, but still remain anonymous. That's still a business, don't you think?
Yeah, what better way than to make money without people knowing who you are?
Yeah, no. So, that was, and again, that is in the terms and conditions. So in the art world, where people have become upset about this type of artwork seeping into things like Comic-Con and Comicpalooza and all these other things, and where hard-earned artists that are mastering their craft and continue to master their craft by doing what they do, it somewhat cheapens it, but they can sell probably a better piece of art, and that's not an insult to the art industry, but a smoother, better piece of art that's easier to create without and make money off of it without the work being put into it. To me, AI is everyone gets a ribbon, everyone gets a participation trophy, and you are forcing your way in a club that you don't belong in. There are musicians out there that are incredible musicians, that are incredible songwriters, and I know some, and I've had extensive conversations with some of these folks. I'm trying to get one to come on the show. He's a little bashful, but actually he's not bashful at all. He's just, I don't know why he won't, but I'm wearing him down. But because he brings a phenomenal perspective to this, because he works with a lot of younger people. He's a guitar teacher as well as a gunslinger, musician for hire type of guy. And his perspective on it is this is now creeping into his world, that kids, well, what's the point of learning how to play the guitar if there's this Suno, take your artistry to the next level thing out there that they don't have to play the guitar anymore. This thing will create a hip-hop beat or a guitar riff or a hook or whatever you're wanting in that situation, and it takes the artistry out of it. But to me, that's the everyone gets a ribbon category. That's you don't belong here. This person has put their 10,000 hours in. They deserve to be called a professional. They deserve to hold that title. There's an elite few that still hold that title, but then you get the, well, how dare you say that I'm not included in that? I wrote a song too. No, you didn't. You just said, "Hey, write me a song about X, Y, and Z to the beat of in a Metallica cadence." Man, we're really pushing buttons now because I said Taylor Swift, Metallica. The only one I left out was like Disney. But I'm serious. It's just you're forcing your way in a territory that you don't belong in, and it cheapens the artistry and the recording process, does it not?
Yeah, the one you didn't mention for this time of year is obviously MC,
Right. Okay, go for it.
Mariah Carey.
Yes. Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, she did. She just broke a streak. She hit #1 again. She does every Christmas with that because it's played everywhere. It's played in every department store, Macy's, Fifth Avenue, whatever store. You can't go down the darn Hughes Landing or mall without hearing this silly "All I Want for Christmas" song. Well, there, I did it. Now I've gone and done it. Yeah, no, I'm not here. Hey, the Swifties are a pretty brutal crowd, and I'm not going to do anything to piss her off. She's like the Eminem for teenage girls. So, yeah, you just don't mess with them.
Yeah, 77 weeks on the chart.
Right. So here's the thing.
But do you know who's #2 on the chart?
No.
Brenda Lee,
Really?
Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
Oh, that's true.
I was just interested to look because I found out this morning that Pink Floyd "Wish You Were Here" is #1 on the UK album charts for Christmas
Really?
because it's the 50th of anniversary.
Oh, I was gonna say, how did the heck does that tie into anything Christmas? But okay, so there's a box set of some sort.
Yeah, there's box set, CDs, vinyl, even Blu-ray, which I got.
So here's the bottom line on this thing, or the top line on this thing, is that artificial intelligence was never designed to be autonomous. It was designed to be a helpmeet for data input. Ladies and gentlemen, it's everywhere. It's in your phones, it's in your iPads, it's in your car, it's in your TVs, it's in your thermostats, it's in your little Amazon Echoes and Google Hey Googles and Apple HomePods and Rokus and Amazons and Amazon Fire Sticks and Roku. It's in everything.
It's on every website you go to because you get that little chat bot.
Yep.
Pops up in the corner.
Google just started that. You go to Google, type something in, it gives you the AI response right at the very, very tip top.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Unless you're going to go live as a hermit, chop your own wood, and have a flip phone, you're not going to get away from this. It's there. It's not one of those, and where the big misconception about most of these entities lie, and these videos out there where they're talking about it lie, is they got it wrong. It's not coming. It's here. That's the thing. It's not coming. It's already here.
It's a proverbial snowball.
Correct. Yeah, no.
I mean, they've been working on artificial intelligence for probably the last 20, 30 years. It's just only now that the computing power is there, or they are able to generate through these big data centers that they're building everywhere, that it's kind of come into fruition. It's kind of like a holy grail.
Right.
But,
no, I agree.
But they think, okay, well, we've achieved this level of it, but then I can't remember all the terms. They talk about generative AI, where it's like self-feeding, but it almost is now. And then super generative and super AI, and it's like every time you invent something, there's something better that you can invent. I read books when I was a kid by an author called Robert Heinlein. They was kind of sci-fi, and every time you read the book, it's like, but the next book, they made something better than what was in the last book, and in terms of space travel and that sort of thing. It's like there's always something to reach for.
Right.
And as quantum computing comes in, they're probably going to say, okay, well, now we can do this, and we could probably run the whole world just on one computer running AI, and then nobody has to do any work, as Elon Musk says.
So here's where I find here's the kind of the pros and cons of it, in my opinion. I mean, and I think AI is incredibly helpful when it assists, accelerates, and inspires, and augments human intelligence when needed.
But I don't think that they should be ramming it down our throats,
Nope.
like you just said.
Nope. I agree.
I do want to recant one thing I said last week about Microsoft Copilot and something called Recall. They're only available on Copilot Plus PCs at the moment, and they're not forcing everything onto everybody with Windows 10, 11, or even 7, or whatever version you're thinking of running. So, but yes, they are still pushing it, but it's not to everybody that I thought it was.
So I find that AI is disruptive, or dare I use the word scary, when it replaces accountability, controls the narrative, operates without transparency or limitations, and it's trusted more than humans themselves. AI gives humans a sense of authority on something. However, Ian and I have both experienced how that technology is fallible, and it's not perfect, and it is something that has an issue and does need to be controlled. And when left to its own devices, it becomes destructive in a way. So what do we do now? So, well, we can stop using it, even though you can't. You can try, but you can't stop using it because it's in everything. It's in your watch that's on your wrist. Your watch communicates with your phone. It's using artificial intelligence based on your heartbeat that's being piped from your watch to show you on your phone or show you on your watch, and it's going to send you a message that says, hey, why don't you take a breather? Or, hey, why don't you calm down? That's built on artificial intelligence technology. So it doesn't have to be fed through a portal like Perplexity or ChatGPT or Suno or any of the other Uno, ZPT, whatever you want to call them. I call them more IBS, but it's doing things in the background based on data that's being collected from you. So it's being implemented and given a mind of its own because you're allowing it to, but with your technology. Whether it be your watching habits on Apple TV, whether it be you wear an iWatch, whether it be an AirPod that also, by the way, can detect your pulse. I didn't know that, but that's a new thing that's coming out. All of these things can be used in the background via artificial intelligence. Cars, it's everywhere. You know, if you go at Tesla's, Ford Motor, you know, Ford has it in the Mustang for traction control and race mode, and how to get the best performance in the certain circumstances based on the data it's collecting as you're going down the road via where it thinks you have traction or you don't have traction. There's all kinds of things out there that this thing does. So you could stop using it. You know, AI fades into the background. It's built into phones, cars, glasses. Glasses are the really weird one to me. It's always listening by permission. By the way, that's the terms and agreement that you agreed to. It's listening by permission. Where it's creepy, or it starts getting into creepiness, is it anticipates the need instead of waiting to be prompted. Meaning, you're no longer opening ChatGPT. It says, "Oh, you're doing this. We're going to do that," and that's how it works. So, for example, your phone drafts and replies for you before you can open your messages. Your car knows stress patterns and adjusts the climate control in your environment. Your calendar automatically negotiates meetings, brings up topics or products that you may have discussed in the privacy of your own home. or out in public. The risk is you stop noticing when decisions aren't being made by you. That's the problem. That's the slippery slope of the AI effect. Number two slippery slope is it creates your digital twin. Ian, you've seen these advertisements where AI answers the phone when the wife calls as a joke and the guy sends it to the AI voice. Have you seen those on Facebook lately? No. They're everywhere. It's showing you automated attendance. Okay, let me ask you this.
My algorithm doesn't show me stuff like that.
So how frustrated are you when you call a service provider and get an automated message?
Oh, I'm worse than frustrated.
Can you imagine what your wife would have done, if you had done something like that, and what the message would have been?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. So everyone will have a personal AI assistant, knows your preferences and habits, represents you in email, scheduling, research, and then learns over not years of sessions, but just by a few times that you've enacted it. Massive productivity boost, cognitive offloading, less mental clutter. Now, here's the scary part of that. Who owns the agent? What happens when it's copied, sold, or subpoenaed? Your identity now becomes digital property. Brilliant minds are harvested and cloned. Artistry is no longer artistry. Creativity and brilliance has now been synthesized. It's just...
And we know that kind of stuff happens because 23andMe, which lots of people did DNA tests through and were told that your DNA, your data, your information is solid, safe, we will never sell it, we will never do anything. But then they go bankrupt.
Yep.
So somebody else buys them, but you don't have that agreement with whoever's buying it, so they've just bought all your DNA data.
Yep.
Which is why those of us that knew about it went in and said, delete it all.
And you've allowed them to do it. And that's the thing. Well, even you brought this up years ago when Amazon first came and did the Echo and the Echo Dot. You had brought this up years ago, and where you can actually see a transcript of the things that it's recorded in the background, like full conversations that it's recorded to harvest for text-to-speech or voice control and things like that. And you can go read those transcripts. You can go...
Generally, it only records them when it thinks it hears the wake word.
So here's a direct quote from one of my artist friends, musician friend that I referred to. He says, and I quote, "Human creativity won't disappear, it will polarize. What makes an artist special? What makes a songwriter a songwriter? A craft is cheapened that an exclusive few possess because of hard work and dedication. Where we live in a society that slips into everyone should be rewarded for mediocrity and participation." He puts AI into that category. Number 4, the scare tactic of number 4. Trust becomes the scarce resource. Soon, because of what you and I have seen, you'll assume images may be fake, audio may be cloned, and text will automatically be generated. What rises instead? Province. Where did this come from? Verification lawyers and reputation systems. The risk of this is without the trust infrastructures, societies fracture. Think about what's going on in our government. Think about what's going on right now in a post-COVID society. People automatically don't distrust the government, regardless of who's in office, or sometimes especially when someone's in office. It just depends on what's going on. Regulation arrives late, and now it's messy. Governments will react after the damage is done. Think about the plane hitting the building. Regulation unevenly by county. The struggle will be to enforce across all borders, which you've already highlighted on that. Innovation slows in some places, and the black market AI grows. This mirrors the early internet, but faster and more consequential. Yeah, it's just, I feel like we're in a fork in the road. I feel like that everybody's saying, we need rules and regulations and limitations. Well, we don't trust our government to do that. You know, it's the same government that put the FDA in control of the foods and things that you consume. If you go over to the UK and look at a box of cereal, it's 100 times different than a box of cereal that was approved by the FDA, right? So yes, the trust is rocked with those types of entities, and this is a very hard subject to discuss without getting government issues involved. So do you think governments should crack down on rules and regulations of AI, or is that a red line that shouldn't be crossed?
I think they should, but I don't think they're going to, because I think they're going to use them for their benefit.
In what way?
Digital IDs, which is something coming in the UK, where you're going to basically have to put everything online, but then that's open to data breaching and everything else. So, but they're going to use the AI to monitor you. It's Big Brother. It's 1984. It's already here.
Yeah, there was a movie about this with Matthew Broderick, 100-Year War Games.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time. It was like 82 or 83. But yeah, no, that's exactly what that whole premise of the movie was. This computer that had thinking capability decided to activate a real war game between, I want to say it was Russia and the United States, if I remember right. And there was another movie that in the mid-90s that was done very well. It was one of the Tom Clancy had a book over it called Sum of All Fears. And it's when the communication infrastructure cratered, and again, there was some terrorist organization that was creating havoc with all the different computer-controlled infrastructures, and then deciding to do who, what, where, and when between the United States and Russia, which seems to be also a hot topic at the moment. But yeah, no, I mean, I think where AI takes the wrong turn is humans start using it instead of doing their own research. I think it brings them to a position of authority. I think it brings them to a position of making decisions about income and authority, and where the data may be skewed. It may not be accurate. You know, you and I have found that artificial intelligence is not accurate at the moment. There are several different variations where it's just dead wrong. And then when it's made to be a helpmeet, not a crutch. And I believe in a lot of people's lives, this has become their, I don't know how many times I hear it all week, is, AI, ChatGPT says this. And I was like, I don't care what ChatGPT says. You know why? Because ChatGPT told me to blow up my mixer board, by putting the wrong power supply into it, and yeah.
It hallucinates, I think is the correct term.
Well, it data mines, and whatever the majority rule, whatever it
And what are its sources? Facebook, Reddit, YouTube. I mean,
right.
where there is no peer-reviewed information or analysis.
Right. So the bottom line is the horse is pooped, and we can't put poop back in the horse, but there needs to be rules in place to where if the end user is the author and are considered the author, then they need to be able to control the reins of the horse. And that needs to happen sooner than later. And I would 100% not put this into the hands of a child or the hands of an adolescent or even young adults. They're old enough to make their own decisions. But that seems to be where most of the damage is done. And there's a genuine fear of people losing their jobs. There's a general fear of people losing the point of having a degree. because of these very things. And I don't think we're there yet with these types of infrastructures. We probably won't be there for the next few years before it starts affecting those types of things. But then again, right now we're seeing this move quickly into the fast food industry. There's a McDonald's in Dallas that's completely autonomous, except I think it can be run by one person now, and it's more of a social experiment than anything. But we're seeing that pattern because a lot of the income structures have increased to a point where businesses can't afford to have a staff of 6 or 7 to monitor those things, so they're getting computers to monitor those things, and all of this chaos is created. I think you and I gave an analogy of the checkout lines at a supermarket. You know, what happens when one of those cards falls? Then it's chaotic because that one person is jumping from here to here to here to here to here, and the line gets longer and people get more frustrated, and it's just kind of, the horse kind of takes its own course there at that point. But we're starting to see it move more in our grocery stores, our checkout lines, our fast food restaurants. That's first. I think second will be graphic artistry. To me, graphic artistry is going to be hit the hardest because some of these things that AI is coming up with is awesome. You know, I mean, it's really, really cool where a guy with a talentless hack like myself, trust me, give me a pen to draw a picture, I can't do it. I mean, on a computer, I'm halfway decent. But some of these things that are coming out of the woodwork with artificial intelligence are really, really good. And then I think after that will be the music industry. I think the music industry is also going to get hit in a really different way. And then anything that has to do with mathematics, CNC lathing, programming, heavily based engineering, things like that, I think that infrastructure will be hit, but not in the foreseeable future, probably within the next 10 years, probably not quickly. The reason why is you don't want to, trust me, you don't want to use an AI math equation to build a bridge right now. So, but here's the thing. Is it a friend or foe? The thing is you're not, the answer to the question is you're not going to get away from it. I don't think it's a foe, but I don't think it's a friend either. I think it's something that you need to be aware of.
It's a good thing for some purposes at the moment, but I think that's all superficial. I think the long game is it's going to not be something that's going to benefit humanity.
Right. No, I agree. No, but you can't, even if you pull the plug on it today, it's everywhere. You know, you can't, your enemies have it, or enemies have it, and it'll be used against you. And it, in my opinion, it needs to be used, you know, it needs to be used as a helpful tool and nothing else. So,
well, it's like I said, I'm half a glass empty. I'm the pessimist. You probably a bit more the other way. You see it maybe as something that will be more beneficial, but I don't.
I see it as annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm annoyed with it I'm annoyed with it if not more than anything because of in the retail world, it's starting to be used as a position of power. You know, the keyboard warriors are using it as a position of power. But here's the thing, Ian. If I got 1,000 idiots in the room and 992 of those idiots are wrong about a piece of information, AI is going to take the opinion of the 992 idiots and treat it as factual information, and that's the majority rule, and it's going to base its synopsis off of the data that it scrapes, which is why even if you use this tool, you still need to go research the answer that it's feeding back to you because it could be based on bullshit.
100%.
Yeah, no, it just, oh, pardon my French. That was, sorry. There we go.
You can't put the ball it back into the board.
That's true. You can't. You can't do it. What does this button do? Here, say something again.
Oh, that's weird.
All right, so button 8 does something weird that we have no clue what it's doing, but that's okay. No, but that's the thing is, you can't. So I see it as an annoyance. I see it as, and that's where I'm telling you that algorithm, and that's the key word. What is an algorithm? For the most, yeah, it's like to me that is the most used, misunderstood word. Right now, it's like the new. You remember when everybody used to use the word narcissist? You know, it's to me, it's
An algorithm is an equation that has lots of different variables, and at the end of the day, an algorithm should produce something like coming out the other end, the output, but that can be, I don't know. They refer to algorithms in all your social media feeds. You see what you see because the algorithm decides that's what you want to see. So it's taking input, which is what you look at and stop to look at and frequently look at, and says, well, this person wants to see videos about the Beatles, so we'll just keep throwing videos about the Beatles at them. I get a lot, if I scroll through Facebook Reels or whatever it's called, I get a lot of Formula One stuff because I look up a lot of Formula One stuff. But I also get some other weird and wonderful things that it occasionally throws at me, and if I just skip past them, then the algorithm says, oh, he doesn't want to know about that, we won't show him anymore. But if something comes up and I stop on it and watch it, maybe even half of it, and then skip, it probably says, well, he was mildly interested in that. Let's show him some more of that next time and see what happens. So that's what an algorithm is. It's almost like just a mathematical equation.
So when you describe it that way, what that tells me is that information could be manipulated.
Yep.
Which is where AI comes into place. A manufacturer could manipulate, this is where the dirty spin cycle starts. The manufacturer can manipulate keywords by showing it over and 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 over again, and create it in a way that information is sourced as the majority opinion about something. And now it says, oh, go use this brand. Oh, go use this brand. So there was a situation where we were designing a room, a high-end cinema, and we were going to use a thing called Dynamat. Dynamat is 100% American-made floor insulation to help isolate subsonic noise from going into the suite below, right? And it's really expensive, and so of course it was to a price point that wasn't attractive. But when this end user is an avid ChatGPT user, he found something called Regipold, Regipould. So Regipold is the same type of stuff, except it's made for parking garages instead of homes with wooden subfloors. So things that are concrete structures. So you can, if your home is above a parking garage or below a parking garage in a city somewhere, then you're not going to hear the to-do of cars driving over your ceiling. And that's what that whole thing is designed for. And so I was like, okay, but all right, let me just call them. So I called 2 or 3 different companies that were sourced from ChatGPT and just went down the total opposite polar rabbit hole of, okay, why are these companies even showing up? I've been doing this for 25 years. I consider myself either a mad scientist or an expert, one of the two. Probably more one than the other. And I've never heard of these brands, ever heard of them. And when I went on the website, it was a very unpolished website. It looked like they just started it up with some kind of PHP thing. All standard graphic images, nothing really no, all meringue, no pie, no substance, nothing to that. And I was just like, where did this thing come from? But yet, so I started doing my own research in ChatGPT. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look this up myself on my phone. Sure enough, I said, please show me top 10 or top 5 flooring underlayments material for acoustic isolation. And Regipold was number one, and there was another brand that I'd never heard of was number 2. Number 3 was one called Dynamat, so that was the Dynamat, and then number 4 was Acoustablock, which I have heard of, and then number 5 was a company that makes something called Green Glue, and they make all kinds of stuff that works for shock absorption and room isolation and whatnot. But the top 2 companies I'd never heard of at all. Like, never heard of, never come across them, never. So then I started researching number 2, because number 1 seemed pretty legit. So I was like, okay. So then number 2, as I started crawling down the rabbit hole, ended up on Alibaba Express.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me, what does that tell you? That tells you that the algorithm for that particular subject has been manipulated to where it's going to show these brands first before it starts showing other things. Again, it's just the nature of the beast and how that particular technology can be manipulated. And I mean, you can look up anything. You can look up what are the keywords for a top 10 podcast show and all that, and it'll give you 10 topics. And if you want, you can even have a back and forth script for you and your co-host if you wanted to do that. I mean, there's all kinds of wild stuff. So, okay, so we're going to finish up here. All right, Ian, this is our red line conversation. Where do you find that these things crossed the line, and where do you find that where they could cross the line?
I think they cross the line where they are being forced down our throats every day by being implemented into devices or appliances that we don't necessarily want them in, including cars, automobiles in general, refrigerators, televisions. You can't get away from it now. But no. Like you said, I have allowed it into my life in some respects. I have Alexa. And
I have Alexas everywhere.
Yeah, but I also have Apple devices. So I have 2 ecosystems residing together. What's funny is every so often I get ads pop up on things in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. I'm not Mexican or any other Spanish-speaking nationality. I don't speak it. Yet every so often I'll get a commercial or an ad on something I don't know that's in Spanish. And the only thing I can think of is that once upon a time when I used to have somebody come around and do a bit of cleaning, and I let them use Alexa in Spanish.
Okay.
So that they could play music that they wanted to listen to while they were busy doing whatever they were doing. It's like, okay, well, you tell it what you want to listen to. And that's the only thing I can think of that's done that. But it's still somewhere down the line. But how do you stop it doing that? You can't. There's no way to... You try and click on the little thing in the corner that's supposed to be an ad tracking thing, like you don't want to tell Google, I don't want to see this ad. And it doesn't say, why do you not want to see it? It's like, I can't say, because I don't speak Spanish and it's meaningless. Where do you go from there?
So...
Anyway, I digress.
No. It's okay. So I get that. Here's what I disagree with, and this rolls into a whole different segment, a different type of topic. Here's what I hate about, and not just artificial intelligence, but technology in general right now, which is weird because our show is called Technology Rocks, and I don't know what the heck they're doing in the room next door, but it's about to drive me nuts. But anyway, so we apologize if you hear somebody being beaten with a bucket or a pan or something in the background. Okay, so here's what I don't like. And if well, let's just play a game for a minute. All right. So Ian, you go to the dealership and you buy a car, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you get to buy the car, you drive the car, you test drive the car, you like the car, and you enjoyed it enough to buy it, and then you read some contractual paperwork before as you're signing on the car, and then you got to drive off in your car, correct?
Yeah. But that was 10 years ago.
Okay. So here's what I dislike. If you came in and you buy anywhere between a $500 TV to a $10,000 TV, doesn't matter, and you get the thing home and you open it up out of the box, you set it up on the pedestal, and you're excited because there's your giant TV, and you get beaten with the bucket behind us. No, you turn the thing on, and you see sign in with your Samsung account, sign in with your Google account. And then you're like, okay, now on Samsung televisions, I can't get past that screen. I can turn the TV off, but I can't get past it.
Then I would just send it back and say it's defective because it won't let me use it.
Right, exactly. But the majority of the population won't do it because it's there. It's already there. But here's what happens with that. So say you do sign in with the Samsung account. After you sign in with the Samsung account, it has a little screen that has about a 30 to 50 page document that's agree to terms. Click here to agree to terms.
But what happens if you can't even connect it to the internet?
You can still use it, but you still have to agree to those terms. But here's the thing. If you don't agree to the terms, TV turns off.
And then you send it back and say it's defective and get your money back.
Yep. So, but the thing is, you're going to have to keep sending the TVs back and never using a TV again, because there's not one TV out there where it does not make you agree to terms and conditions. So to me, as a technology professional and an expert, that pisses me off to no end. You know why? Because I should have that contract before I even put the box in my car.
Yep.
I should be able to agree or disagree with that contract at the cash register.
And most of the time, a lot of that contract, end user license stuff, is to do with arbitration. And they pull LG and pull a trick, and then probably other manufacturers, but if you get a refrigerator
Right.
delivered to your home, it comes in a big cardboard box on a truck. And what happens? They take it out of the box somewhere out on your driveway before they bring it into the house because they've got to take handles or doors off or whatever. Where's the arbitration agreement for that refrigerator? It's printed on the inside of the box.
Yep.
So you don't get to see it anyway, but because you bought the refrigerator, you've agreed to that.
Yep. 100%. So that's what I'm saying is these electronics manufacturers are collecting, and when you agree to those terms and conditions, you're actually agreeing to data mining is what you're agreeing to. You're agreeing to that this AI thing that's running in the background, you're agreeing to that being used in your home, whether it be voice, whether it be algorithm based, whether it be just selling something as simple as selling your email and your phone number. You've agreed to it, because if you don't agree to it, your TV turns off. So that's actually why the pricing of TVs have dropped significantly, because these manufacturers actually make more money on the data mining portion of it than they ever will on the piece of electronics now. But to me, that pisses me off, because I should be able to see the terms and agreement before I even buy the device, but that's not how it works. They won't even let you use their device if you don't agree to the terms.
And what's more, they'll change them now in the middle, like you've already...
Because it's written in the agreement that they can.
Like you have a Roku TV and you turn it on to watch something, and it will come up and say, to continue using your Roku TV, you have to agree to these new terms and conditions.
Yep. Same thing with your Apple update. When your iPhone updates, you have a terms and a conditions agreement.
On the Roku TV, there's one button that says agree. It doesn't say I don't agree. You either agree or you turn it off.
Right.
Now, that's changing terms and conditions after the sale, and that's happening a lot in all fields.
But you agreed to it in the first sale. When the first time you agreed to it, they basically have the right to change the rules of engagement at any point in time.
Which is probably why I get a significant proportion of emails that come and say, review our new terms and conditions before you...
Oh, I guarantee you. I guarantee you it is.
Microsoft, a big one. PayPal had one recently.
Yep.
There's all sorts.
Oh, yeah. No, so anyway, so that's where we're at, folks. AI, friend or foe. What do you think? You want to do another show on this one, or do you think we've beat the horse to death?
I would say let's see if anybody sends in any good questions that we can tackle.
Yeah.
But I think we can move on. We've done 2.
Yeah, no, I think we've
Sessions on it.
I think we've kind of beat it to death. I think this one was a little bit more organized than the last one. But it's just one of those things that you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of it's going. No, you can't avoid it. No, you can't stay away from it. But it's just
if we stay serious like this, people aren't going to listen to us anymore. So we've got to inject a little bit of fun into it.
True. Well, I mean, that's the thing. This is the thing that everybody wants to talk about, which is we tried to keep it from doom and gloom in a lot of cases, but then the other cases were just, it's hard not to be.
Well, let's get people to send in some of their creations.
Right.
Send us some great pictures that you've created using whoever.
Yeah.
Gemini, Nano Banana, and all that.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, if they do crack down and we lose the Bigfoot guys standing on the side of the road, when you've got and they're saying all kinds of off-kiltered things, I'm going to be pissed because those are pretty funny. All right, well, I think that's a cast on artificial intelligence or lack thereof, friend or foe, necessity or novelty. You be the judge. If you have any questions, we do have a Facebook page. I guess I should have mentioned that in the first 5 minutes instead of the last 5 minutes. But we do have a Facebook page that we've activated where if you want to ask questions or have comments or whatever, feel free to do so. We're happy to entertain all of those things. So far, up to about 500 listeners, so we still got a ways to go, but that's not bad for about a week's worth of work. Ian and I got some new stuff that we're going to discuss, and we'll try to lighten it up a little bit. I mean, it's hard to talk about artificial intelligence without being end of the world apocalyptic,
Well, that's me. I'm the pessimist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
But any intelligence there is in this room is definitely not artificial.
That's true. Or again, lack thereof. All right. Well, that's a cast. I'm Justin.
I'm Ian.
And this is Technology Rocks Season 2. We'll see you in a bit.